Welcome back to the Deep Dive, your daily dose of UPSC current affairs.
Your one-stop shop for everything you need to know to ace that exam.
Exactly. It's February 27th, 2025, and we're diving into part one.
So much to cover, but don't worry, we've got you covered.
Buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride.
And remember, even if we touch upon topics we've discussed before,
But think of it as revision, crucial for success in the UPSC.
absolutely, every bit of knowledge counts. And hey, before we get started,
Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on all things UPSC.
let's dive right in. All right, let's kick things off with a rather surprising development from across the pond, the UK.
A new study's got everyone talking, and it's all about the Thames River.
You see, despite a decrease in phosphorus, a major nutrient for algae.
Climate change is actually increasing algal blooms in the Thames.
Yeah, it's a bit of a head-scratcher, isn't it? We thought reducing phosphorus would control these blooms.
But it seems climate change is throwing a wrench in the works, possibly affecting water temperature and flow.
It's a wake-up call, really, a reminder for all you future civil servants out there.
Environmental management needs to adapt to the unpredictable ways climate change can impact even seemingly stable systems.
Speaking of change, let's shift our focus to India, where TriFed is making waves.
TriFed, for those who need a reminder, is the Tribal Cooperative Marketing Development Federation of India.
And they've just signed MOUs with some big names: Reliance Retail, HCL Foundation, and Torajamello Indonesia.
These partnerships are a game changer for tribal communities, providing access to wider markets.
Imagine the potential economic impact when tribal artisans and producers get a platform like Reliance Retail.
It's a move beyond traditional aid, empowering these communities through entrepreneurship and market access.
It does raise an interesting question, though, doesn't it? How do we balance economic development with preserving cultural heritage, especially for indigenous communities?
It's a complex issue that future policymakers might grapple with. But for now, let's turn our attention to India's defense sector.
There's been a significant development with the commissioning of INS Tamal.
A stealth frigate built in Russia. But there's a reason everyone's talking about it.
It's the last warship India plans to import. That's right, the last one.
INS Tamal, a Krivac third-class frigate, marks a turning point in India's quest for self-reliance in defense.
A powerful symbol indeed. Now, let's zoom out from Earth and explore the vastness of space.
Dwarfed galaxies, those smaller, fainter galaxies, often overlooked.
But hold on, they're far more numerous than their brighter counterparts. And an Indian-origin astrophysicist, Ragadipika Pucha, just made a remarkable discovery.
The largest sample of intermediate-mass black holes within these dwarf galaxies has been found.
And this is causing a stir because it challenges current theories about how galaxies form and evolve.
Keep this in mind for the exam, because these intermediate-mass black holes might just play a critical role in shaping galaxies as we know them.
Absolutely. Now let's bring it back to India and talk about an initiative that's been making a real difference for 6 years running.
SWAYATT, on the government e-marketplace, also known as GEM.
Think of GEM as a one-stop shop for government procurement.
Departments can procure goods and services all online.
And SWAYATT is all about making this platform inclusive.
It promotes participation from startups, women entrepreneurs, and youth-led businesses.
Ensuring they have equal opportunities to secure government contracts.
It's a brilliant example of how technology can level the playing field.
For aspiring civil servants, understanding initiatives like SWAYATT is key.
It reflects the government's commitment to fostering inclusive growth. Now, let's demystify a financial term that often pops up in the news.
Qualified Institutional Placement, or QIP, as it's more commonly known.
IRETA, the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency, recently raised funds using this method.
So imagine a company that needs to raise capital quickly and efficiently.
Enter QIP. They could issue shares directly to qualified institutional buyers, or QIBs, think mutual funds and pension funds.
Bypassing the whole lengthy process of a public offering.
A strategic way for companies to attract investments from seasoned financial institutions.
Well, why was it introduced in India? Well, rewind to 2006.
Indian companies were heavily reliant on foreign capital.
QIP was SEBI's solution to streamline domestic fundraising and reduce this dependence.
A key step towards financial self-reliance. Now, let's take a detour to the animal kingdom.
Specifically to a group of birds that are turning out to be much smarter than we thought.
Emus, rheas, ostriches, those flightless wonders.
Classified as paleognath birds, they've long been considered, well, not the brightest bulbs.
But new research from the University of Bristol suggests We might have underestimated them.
These findings challenge our preconceived notions about intelligence in the animal world.
It's a reminder to think critically, to recognize that intelligence can manifest in diverse ways.
An important lesson, especially for those gearing up for the UPSC.
Now let's move on to a story that beautifully blends diplomacy and wildlife conservation.
Picture this, a group of diplomats from around the world,
Not in a stuffy conference room.
but on elephant and jeep safaris in Kaziranga National Park.
It's not your average diplomatic meeting.
It's a diplomatic safari, and it's a powerful way to showcase India's commitment to conservation on the global stage.
A brilliant display of soft power, using India's natural heritage to foster diplomatic relations.
And Kaziranga, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, famous for its one-horned rhinoceros population.
A perfect backdrop to highlight India's leadership in environmental conservation. Now let's shift gears to rural development.
The African-Asian Rural Development Organization, ARDO, recently wrapped up its 21st meeting.
And a key takeaway, the importance of community-driven development.
Sustainable development is most effective when it leverages local knowledge.
When communities themselves are empowered to shape their own destinies.
A crucial reminder that development shouldn't be a top-down process.
It should be a collaborative effort, respecting local expertise.
A fantastic example of this is the PUNCH mission, a groundbreaking endeavor.
It aims to give us, for the first time ever, a 3D view of the sun's corona.
Using polarized light and a constellation of 4 small satellites.
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
But it has very real implications. Understanding the corona is vital for predicting space weather.
Which can impact our technology here on Earth.
Exactly. Satellites, communication systems, even power grids can be affected by solar flares and coronal mass ejections.
So the PUNCH mission isn't just about scientific advancement.
It's about safeguarding our technological infrastructure from the unpredictable nature of our very own star, the sun. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're picking up right where we left off, exploring the key events of February 27th, 2025, unpacking everything you need for your UPSC journey.
Yeah, let's jump right back in. I'm really intrigued by this Paleonath bird thing. You mentioned they might be smarter than we initially thought. What kind of research is backing this up?
Okay, so think emus, ostriches, rheas. For years, they were considered to be, well, not the sharpest tools in the shed, but researchers at the University of Bristol, they've been observing some pretty complex behaviors, problem-solving skills, things that point to a much higher level of cognitive ability than we gave them credit for.
So this research really flips our assumptions about intelligence in the animal kingdom on their head. Makes you think, how do we even define intelligence across different species?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? Especially for aspiring civil servants. Understanding diverse perspectives, challenging established norms, it's crucial.
Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about QIP, Qualified Institutional Placement. We touched upon it earlier with IRETA.
Right. They raised funds through QIP. Could you unpack that a bit more? What are the advantages for companies looking for capital?
Okay, imagine a company wants to raise capital fast. Efficiently, QIP is like a fast track. Instead of going through the whole public offering song and dance, it can directly issue shares to these big financial institutions, qualified institutional buyers, or QIBs for short mutual funds, pension funds, that sort of thing. So it's a way to attract investment from the heavy hitters, the experienced players in the financial market. But why was this mechanism introduced in India specifically?
Let's rewind the clock back to 2006. Back then, Indian companies relied heavily on foreign markets for fundraising, which, let's be honest, could be a real pain. SEBI, our market regulator, they came up with QIP to simplify domestic fundraising and reduce that dependence on foreign capital.
It's interesting how a financial mechanism can have such a big impact on a nation's economic independence. Now let's talk about something a bit more visual, a bit more experiential. We talked about those diplomats visiting Kaziranga National Park. I'd love to dive deeper into that.
Okay, picture this, diplomats from all over the world, not stuck in some boring conference room, but out in the wild, experiencing the incredible biodiversity of Kaziranga elephant rides, jeep safaris, the whole 9 yards.
It's a brilliant use of soft power, wouldn't you say? Using India's natural beauty to strengthen relationships on the global stage.
Absolutely. And it subtly but powerfully emphasizes the importance of biodiversity conservation, a topic that pops up all the time in the UPSC syllabus.
And Kaziranga itself. It's a gem, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, home to the world's largest population of one-horned rhinos, plus a ton of other amazing plants and animals.
This diplomatic safari really drives home the message that India is not just an economic powerhouse, but also a responsible global player committed to taking care of our planet.
It's a great example of India leveraging its strengths on the world stage. Speaking of global cooperation, let's circle back to ARDO, the African Asian Rural Development Organization. Their recent meeting really hammered home the importance of community-driven development.
Right. AIRDO, they're all about fostering cooperation between African and Asian countries when it comes to rural development. And their latest meeting stressed a key point. Development is most sustainable, most impactful when it comes from the ground up.
It's a refreshing perspective, right? Moving away from those top-down approaches and recognizing that communities themselves often hold the keys to the best solutions.
Absolutely. And it ties in with this growing global trend of participatory governance, giving citizens a real voice in shaping the policies that directly affect their lives.
So ARDO's focus on community-driven development offers valuable insights into these evolving models of governance. Now, let's zoom back out to the cosmos. Remember that PUNCH mission, the one that's going to create a 3D map of the sun's corona.
It's a pretty ambitious project, for sure. But remember, understanding the sun's corona, it's not just about scientific curiosity.
Right, you mentioned the implications for space weather. It can actually impact our technology, our infrastructure, right here on Earth.
You got it. The corona plays a big role in solar flares, coronal mass ejections, these bursts of energy that can mess with satellites, communication systems, even power grids. The PONCH mission is all about getting a better handle on those events so we can predict them, maybe even prevent some of the disruption they cause.
So it's connecting cutting-edge science with very real, very practical applications that affect our daily lives.
Exactly. It's a perfect illustration of how advancements in science can directly contribute to global security and well-being.
And we're back for the final leg of our deep dive into the events of February 27th, 2025.
Still plenty to uncover that's super relevant for all you UPSC aspirants out there.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, let's circle back to that PNCH mission.
The one that's going to give us a 3D view of the sun's corona.
It sounded pretty complex. How will they actually pull that off?
It's all about teamwork, really. They'll use count them, 4 mini satellites.
What?
Each one equipped with these special cameras designed to capture polarized light coming from the corona.
Okay, and then?
By analyzing all that data, scientists can piece together a 3D model of the corona. It'll be like seeing its structure and how it all moves in a whole new way.
So we're talking about a 3D X-ray of the sun's atmosphere. But why is understanding the corona so important?
Well, it's all connected to space weather, you see. Those solar flares and coronal mass ejections, they come from the corona.
And those can mess with our technology down here on Earth, right?
Exactly. Satellites, communication systems, even power grids can get disrupted. The PUNCH mission is all about getting a better grasp on those events so we can improve space weather forecasts.
So we can be prepared and protect our tech.
Precisely. Now let's touch base one more time on a topic close to my heart: community-driven development.
ARDO, the African Asian Rural Development Organization, really stressed that during their meeting, didn't they?
They did. It's all about recognizing that sustainable development, the kind that really sticks, it has to start with the communities themselves.
Instead of imposing solutions from the top down.
Exactly. We need to empower people on the ground, let them identify their own needs, use their own knowledge, and be active participants in shaping their future.
It's about recognizing that communities often hold the best solutions to their own challenges.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And for you aspiring civil servants, understanding this shift toward participatory governance, it's crucial.
Absolutely. Now, one last stop before we sign off. That diplomatic safari in Kaziranga National Park.
What a brilliant way to showcase India's dedication to conservation, wouldn't you say?
Diplomats from all over the world experiencing India's natural heritage firsthand. It's a powerful image.
Soft power at its finest. And Kaziranga, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the perfect setting.
Home to the one-horned rhino and so much more.
It sends a clear message. India's committed to protecting its environment, playing a responsible role on the global stage.
And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into the key events of February 27th, 2025.
We've covered a lot of ground, from space weather to community development to international relations.
Hopefully this has been a valuable exercise for all you UPSC aspirants.
Remember, staying on top of current affairs is key for acing that exam.
So keep reading, keep learning, and keep those brains buzzing.
And hey, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the Deep Dive for your daily dose of current affairs analysis.
We'll be back tomorrow with a fresh batch of news to dissect and discuss. Until then, happy studying.